They said you were unfocused. They said you were restless. They said you were too much, too impulsive, too emotional, too distracted, too loud, too different. But what they didn't realize was that what they called too much was the exact reason you were born to be more. From the beginning, they measured you by rules that were never made for you. They valued calm over curiosity, control over creativity, conformity over chaos. But you were never designed for calm. You were built for creation. You see, ADHD isn't a disorder of the broken. It's the mark of the untamed, the signature of a mind that refuses to crawl in a world built for walkers. You were not born to sit still and wait for instruction. You were born to ignite, to imagine, to move like fire across the horizon. But they couldn't see that, because the world fears what it cannot contain, and you were never meant to be contained. From classrooms that silenced your energy, to workplaces that punished your passion, you were told to calm down when all you ever needed was direction. You weren't bored because you didn't care. You were bored because you felt too much. Your mind demanded meaning. Your spirit demanded movement. You were built for depth, not monotony. They said you lack focus, but they didn't see that when something captures your heart you disappear into it. That when you love with your entire being. That when you chase a dream the world itself vanishes. That's not distraction. That's devotion. The truth is your energy was never random. It was misunderstood, because in a world obsessed with linear minds, you were the lightning, beautiful, unpredictable, illuminating everything it touches. But here's the irony. You believed them. You began to see your fire as failure. You thought your speed was recklessness. Your emotion was weakness. Your ideas were noise. You started fighting yourself, cutting your own wings just to fit in their cages. You tried to focus like them, work like them, live like them, but every time you did your soul suffocated. Because your mind isn't meant for repetition. It's meant for revolution. You don't just think, you feel thought. You don't just act. You absorb energy. You don't just create. You channel universes. ADHD was never your flaw. It was your frequency. You are tuned to a wavelength most people can't hear. They hear noise. You hear patterns. They see tasks. You see possibilities. And yes, it's heavy. Living like a storm in a world that worships stillness. Carrying lightning in your bones when everyone around you fears thunder. But one day you'll realize you were never supposed to fit into their calm. You were supposed to teach them movement, because what they call chaotic is what makes you creative. What they call impulsive is what makes you brave. What they call distracted is what makes you deep. They see disorder, but what you carry is design. You were not built to follow paths. You were built to create them. You were not meant to sit quietly. You were meant to wake sleeping worlds. You are the embodiment of motion, meaning and madness in perfect harmony. So when they call you too much, smile, because too much is exactly what it takes to change everything. They cannot understand your fire because they were built for safety. But you were built for and one day you'll realize what they call a disorder is actually your superpower. The day you stop apologizing for your speed and start aiming it, the day you stop dimming your energy and start directing it, that's the day you stop surviving and start creating world. You don't need to fix your mind, you need to free it, because ADHD isn't the curse of the restless, it's the engine of the relentless, and once you learn how to steer it, nothing and no one will ever stop you. There comes a day when the noise fades just long enough for truth to speak, and in that silence you realize you were never broken. You were brilliant. The world told you your energy was chaos, but it was power waiting for a purpose. It told you your impulsivity was recklessness, but it was actually intuition. It told you your sensitivity was weakness, but it was empathy in its purest form. ADHD isn't your flaw, it's your frequency. a higher voltage of existence, a mind that moves at lightning speed, a heart that feels at thunder's depth. And the moment you stop trying to be normal, you see it. You were never meant to walk their narrow path. You were meant to blaze your own trail, because what you call distraction is actually divergence. Your mind doesn't wander. It discovers. You jump between thoughts, not because you can't focus, but because you're searching for something worthy of your focus. You see, your brain isn't aimless. It's ruthlessly selective. It refuses to settle for the meaningless. It rejects routine because it craves purpose. That's why when you finally find something that matters, you become unstoppable. Hours vanish, the world dissolves, and you, the unfocused one, enter a state of perfect clarity. That's not distraction. That's superhuman focus. When you are aligned with something that feeds your fire, you don't need motivation. You become motivation, and that's the first revelation. Your focus isn't broken. It's guarded. It doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to passion. The second revelation: your impulsivity isn't carelessness. It's courage. It's your willingness to leap before the world says safe. It's the force that turns hesitation into innovation. You move fast because your intuition speaks louder than your fear. The third: your emotional intensity isn't weakness. It's fuel. You feel life deeply because you are alive deeply. You don't skim the surface of existence. You dive into its core. Yes, it hurts more, but it also creates more, because that fire that makes you cry harder also makes you love harder, dream harder, fight harder. And here's the fourth revelation: your restlessness isn't a curse. It's momentum, that constant drive inside you. It's not there to punish you. It's there to push you, to remind you that you were never meant to sit still while the world needs rebuilding. Restlessness is not the problem. It's the spark that keeps you moving forward while others stand still. But there's more. Your sensitivity to boredom, that's not weakness. That's your inner compass screaming, this isn't your path. It's your soul's way of guiding you toward meaning. Because here's the truth: ADHD isn't the absence of focus. It's the overflow of it. You're not distracted by everything. You're drawn to possibility. Your mind is a constellation, connecting stars others can't even see. You were not designed to fit into small boxes or follow straight lines. You were designed to see the patterns of the universe. You find connections between chaos and clarity, between logic and emotion, between what is and what could be. That's not disorder. That's vision. The revelation is this: you don't have to fix your brain. You have to understand its language. It speaks in sparks, not sentence. It moves through emotion, not logic. It builds through curiosity, not compliance. When you stop suppressing it, you stop fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself, you finally see yourself. The truth is, ADHD isn't about a deficit of attention. It's about a deficit of alignment. You are not tired of the world. You're tired of living below your purpose. You are not unmotivated. You're uninspired. You are not disorganized. You're overflowing with imagination. So no, you don't need to calm your storm. You need to command it. Because everything that makes you different is exactly what makes you dangerous to mediocrity. And that, my friend, is your superpower. Here lies the paradox. The very energy that gives you brilliance also becomes your burden. Your power, when unshaped, turns on itself. Your flame, when unfocused, burns its bearer. You see, the world never taught you how to aim your fire. It only told you to extinguish it. It told you to calm down, fit in, follow the plan. But your soul was never built for quiet conformity. It was built for impact. And so you spent your life fighting the wrong battle, trying to fix what was never broken, trying to cage the lightning instead of learning to ride it. That's the trap. You wake up every day feeling both unstoppable and you dream of everything you could do, and punish yourself for not doing it all. You hold galaxies in your head, but you feel small because you can't finish the simplest task, and so you spiral. You oscillate between extremes, between obsession and exhaustion. One week you're on fire, producing, creating, alive. The next, you can't move. You call it laziness, but it's not. It's your body crashing after running faster than anyone ever noticed. That's the cruelest truth about ADHD. Your problem isn't inconsistency, it's intensity without direction. You live in cycles of explosion and collapse. You chase stimulation until it becomes suffocation. You drown in possibilities, then starve for purpose. And you've been taught to hate this rhythm, to call it failure, to medicate it, to suppress it. But what if this rhythm is not your enemy, but your nature? What if these peaks and valleys are not dysfunction, but design? Because here's the truth no one told you. You do not lack focus. You lack clarity. Your mind doesn't rebel against work. It rebels against meaninglessness. You were never meant to live in half-interest. You were born for obsession. That's why you feel lost when your heart isn't in it. Your brain will not obey boredom. It only answers to purpose. The trap deepens when you start confusing passion for discipline. You think if I'm truly passionate I should be consistent. But that's not how your energy works. You don't build through routine. You build through intensity. You move in bursts, in lightning strikes of creation. You don't grow linearly. You evolve in leaps. And that's terrifying to people who move slowly, because your progress doesn't follow their rules. You don't grind, you ignite. You don't plan, you plunge. You don't think in straight lines, you think in constellations. But that very brilliance comes at a cost, because without guidance your fire consumes you. You burn out, you lose confidence. You start believing the story they wrote about you, that you're too much. And when you believe that lie long enough, you start shrinking. You stop chasing dreams, because you fear disappointment. You stop trusting your instincts, because they don't fit the manual. You stop starting, because you're scared you won't finish. That's how greatness dies, not from failure, but from self-doubt. But here's the truth that can save you. You are not your failures. You are your capacity to begin again. Every time you restart, you're not weak. You're resilient. Every time you lose focus and come back, you're not behind, you're recalibrating, because your fire never truly goes out. It just waits for the next spark of meaning. So stop punishing yourself for not being like them. You were not meant to walk at their pace. You were built to sprint in waves, to rest, to rise, to strike again. You are not a machine. You are a storm, and storms are not consistent. They are powerful. Once you understand this truth, the game changes. You stop fighting your fire and start forging with it. You stop seeking peace in calmness and start finding peace in motion. You stop asking why can't I slow down and start asking where can I aim all this energy? Because here's the secret the world hides from you. Once your storm finds direction, it becomes unstoppable. That's the truth. Your power was never the problem. Your aim was. And when you finally stop trying to be calm and start learning to be clear, you begin to rise, because clarity turns your chaos into creation. And that's where transformation begins. There comes a point where you stop running, not because the storm ends, but because you learn to walk inside it. That's the beginning of awakening. You start to see the pattern in your own chaos. You realize that your so-called weaknesses are actually weapons, waiting for you to wield them. And suddenly everything you thought was against you becomes your greatest ally. Because here's the secret most will never know. You don't overcome ADHD by taming it. You overcome it by teaming with it. You stop fighting the speed and start steering. You stop silencing your mind and start directing it. You stop killing your curiosity and start feeding it. You awaken to the truth that you are not supposed to live like that. You are not meant to move in slow, predictable lines. You are meant to move mountains. When you stop chasing their version of success, you begin to define your own. You stop measuring yourself by calendars and checklists, and start measuring yourself by impact, because your gift is not consistency, it's intensity. And intensity, when aimed, can move the world. You begin to design your life like a battleground built for your nature. You stop forcing structure that suffocates you and start building systems that amplify you. You create a rhythm that mirrors your soul, bursts of passion followed by deliberate rest. You let your creativity lead the way and your discipline follow its tracks. This is not laziness, this is strategy. You learn to use timers to tame time, music to set motion, triggers to summon flow. You stop waiting for motivation to appear. You engineer it, because now you understand your mind. You understand its language, its triggers, its patterns, its tempo. You've stopped trying to calm the storm and started becoming the eye within. And then something extraordinary happens. Focus becomes natural, not forced, not faked, not fleeting, natural, because you've finally given your mind what it's been craving all along: purpose. Purpose doesn't demand focus, it commands it. When your mission is clear, the noise falls silent. When you know your why, every distraction dies on its own. You realize the ADHD brain isn't an obstacle, it's a weapon of mass creation waiting for a target. And once it locks on, nothing can stop it. This is where awakening becomes up, because now you channel your chaos into creativity. You turn emotion into expression. You turn energy into execution. Your impulsivity, it becomes your courage to take the first step while others hesitate. Your restlessness, it becomes the engine that pushes you to reinvent, to explore, to evolve. Your sensitivity, it becomes the empathy that makes your words, your art, your leadership unforgettable. You stop apologizing for being intense. You stop apologizing for feeling deeply. You stop apologizing for being different. Because difference is the birthplace of destiny. You rise with the understanding that mastery doesn't mean perfection. It means direction. You finally get it. You were not meant to fix your fire. You were meant to focus it. And once that realization sinks in, everything changes. You wake up with hunger. You move with clarity. You rest with intention. You start living like your energy was meant for something sacred. That's when ADHD stops being an explanation for your struggles and becomes the foundation for your greatness. You no longer chase peace by becoming quiet. You find peace by becoming effective. You no longer chase control by slowing down. You find control by aiming your storm. That's the awakening. When you stop seeing ADHD as an enemy and start treating it as your edge. When you stop trying to calm the fire and start using it to light the path ahead. You are no longer at war with yourself. You are at war for yourself. And every battle you win, every moment of focus, every burst of creation, every completed dream, builds a monument to the truth that you were never broken. You were becoming. This is the moment where you rise. Not as the misunderstood one, not as the distracted one, but as the one who finally understands the language of his own power. You are not here to survive ADHD. You are here to master it, because when you master it, you don't just control your life, you create it. Now comes the final transformation. The moment where everything aligns, your mind, your purpose, your fire, everything that once tore you apart now begins to build you, because this is what mastery looks like. not silence, but symphony, not peace through stillness, but peace through direction. You've spent years trying to suppress your energy, when all you ever needed was to aim it, and now you see it clearly. The very traits they said made you unstable are the same ones that make you unshakable. You were never a problem to solve, you were a power to unfold. The first sign of your mastery is clarity. You no longer let your attention scatter. You decide what deserves it. You don't chase every spark. You follow the fire that matters. Because you've learned the secret of creation. Focus is not about narrowing your vision. It's about defining your purpose. When your why is strong enough, your focus becomes automatic. Distraction dies in the shadow of direction. The second sign is control, not the control of suppression, but the control of command. You don't fight your mind anymore, you lead it. You ride the waves of energy, turning them into rhythm. You no longer crash, you channel. You've learned how to transform chaos into concentration, emotion into movement, urgency into art. The third sign is consistency, not robotic repetition, but meaningful return. You've learned that success isn't about never drifting, it's about always coming back to your mission, back to your purpose. Your ADHD brain will always wander, but now it knows the way home. The fourth sign is courage. You no longer fear failure, because you've burned in it before and you wrote. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because you've learned that the world doesn't need to understand you to be moved by you. You are not fragile anymore. You are forged. You act fast, not recklessly, but intuitively. You trust your instincts, the same ones that used to get you in trouble, because now you've trained them. You've turned impulse into intuition. The fifth sign is creativity. You no longer see your racing mind as chaos. You see it as a universe of ideas. You paint with it, build with it, invent with it. You stop suppressing imagination and start living inside it, because your creativity was never random. It was raw intelligence, searching for form. The sixth sign is compassion. Through struggle you've learned empathy. Through pain you've learned perception. You feel others deeply, because you felt everything yourself. And that sensitivity, the one they mocked you for, now becomes your strength, because the world listens when you speak from a heart that feels everything. And the seventh, the final sign of mastery, is legacy. You realize this was never just about you. It was about everyone who ever felt misunderstood, mislabeled, misplaced. Everyone who was told they were too much. Everyone who tried to quiet their storm. Now you become their proof. You become the evidence that ADHD isn't a deficit. It's divine architecture. You become the voice that says, you are not broken. You are brilliant. You just need direction. This is legacy. When your journey becomes someone else's permission, you no longer live trying to control your energy. You live to channel it into something bigger than you. Your mission becomes clear: to build, to lead, to ignite. You are no longer haunted by your fire. You have become the fire. You are no longer afraid of burning out. You've learned to burn through. Because mastery isn't the end of chaos. It's the art of dancing with it. Now your story begins again, but this time on your terms. You are not the misfit anymore. You are not the misfit anymore. You are the blueprint. You are not the distracted one. You are the one who notices what others miss. You are not the restless one. You are the one who refuses to settle. And the world, it doesn't get to label you anymore. You are beyond labels, beyond limits, beyond normal, because normal minds follow the world, but your mind creates it. So rise, rise and build, rise and lead, rise and burn so brightly that no one ever dares to call it disorder again. You are not here to fit in, you are here to wake the world up. And when the dust settles, when they finally see what you've built, they'll whisper the truth they never understood. It wasn't a disorder, it was destiny. Now aim your storm, lead with your light, and let the world remember, you are not the problem, you are the power, you are the storm.